Okay, so welcome to the webinar. We're recording this so other people can watch it, and welcome to those of you that are live. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Judy Gilman, and my background is as a nurse practitioner and diabetes specialist. And I just want to welcome all of you. I'm really glad that you're here. We're talking about an interesting topic tonight. Our gut, our digestive health just affects so many more things than we think of. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this with you. Some of it gets a little bit on the medical side of things, but I think everybody will be able to stay with me. I think it's fascinating how this is all developing in science. So let me just start the PowerPoint here, and for those of you who are on the recording, you will do my best to visually walk you through this, but most of it is a lot of it is just what I'm going to be saying. I don't have a lot of visuals tonight, but it really is, well, like I say on the lead slide, a gut check. Our digestive system is it's very complex. There are millions of bacteria that live in our gut and lots of enzymes, and we start with these bacteria from the instant we're born. When we come out of the birth canal, we get bacteria from that area of the mother as we come out, and that's where our excuse me, our gut bacteria start. And from then on, we have both good and bad bacteria. Bad bacteria meaning that if they're not kept in balance, they can lead to illness. And so that keeping the good and the bad in balance is really a key, as you'll see tonight, to overall health. Because there's always that potential that if we aren't mindful about what we eat and take good care of our gut, the harmful ones can take over. So up until recently, most of the attention we've paid to our gut as far as our health is just things like the bowel, diarrhea, constipation, that sort of thing. But as the study of probiotics has delved deeper into what is really going on in our gut, the word probiotics is really pro-life. We need these good, healthy bacteria to stay well, and they are live, health-promoting organisms. We typically get probiotics from our food, or they're added to food. They're added to several different foods now. They can also be taken as supplements. And as I said, that's what we typically have thought of why we would take probiotics. If we have diarrhea or constipation or what we call irritable bowel syndrome, lactose intolerance, those kinds of things have been the typical reason for using probiotics. Now, just to explain the difference in probiotics and prebiotics, biotics, and I'll explain in a minute why I'm always saying bionics instead of biotics, but prebiotics is the food that the probiotics need to eat to proliferate. And that predominantly comes from fiber, whether it's from the plants that we eat in our diet or supplements that we take. The amount of fiber that we're supposed to get in our diet every day is recommended to be 25 to 30 grams, and the average American gets about 12 grams in their diet. If we eat a lot of sugar, a lot of carbohydrates, those bad guys love that stuff, so that they just proliferate. They grow and get the balance of the good bacteria and the bad out of whack. And what we're learning now is beyond the symptoms of diarrhea, constipation, bloating, cramping, all of that, this is leading to obesity and type 2 diabetes and hypertension. So just to talk a little bit more about the role of the probiotics for gut health. It keeps the gut, the colon, more acidic, which inhibits the bad guys from taking over. They secrete enzymes that we need for digestion. And the probiotics really are responsible for a lot of the peristalsis. That's just the wave-like contractions of the intestines that moves the waste products on through. And the probiotics also assist in the breakdown of food by fermenting, and that enhances the ease with which we can digest our food. So again, preventing remedy for diarrhea, including traveler's diarrhea. The probiotics also help manufacture some B vitamins and vitamin K. And it's very important if you need to take antibiotics for an infection. If you get a bacterial infection and take a course of antibiotics, you get the word anti, and probiotics. So the antibiotics get rid of the bad bacteria, but they also get rid of the good bacteria. They don't discriminate. So it's important to take probiotics after you've had or while you are actually taking antibiotics, and I encourage people to take the probiotics for a full month, even after the course of antibiotics has been completed. One of the biggest problems that antibiotics cause is a proliferation of yeast that often in women ends up being vaginal yeast infections. And people who get recurrent vaginal yeast infections, it's generally typical that the gut is unhealthy. And like I said, that's especially common after antibiotics. And some studies have shown that, at least 50% of those can be prevented. It's been several months ago now, but I was surprised and pleased when I went in to Now Care at the mall. Can't remember what was wrong, but I knew I needed antibiotics, and the doctor there recommended I take probiotics. So I was, as I said, surprised, coming from a traditionally trained medical provider, but also very pleased that physician anyway was up to speed on how to prevent those problems. So now I want to move on from talking about the bowel issues that probiotics are so helpful for, to talk about what's coming out and has come out and has been published in many journals and many articles now, is that not only does it affect how loose or how constipated our bowel movements are, but a healthy gut and our food choices directly affect blood pressure. And I just put blood pressure equals hypertension, because sometimes I think people are confused about those two words. They mean exactly the same thing. So interestingly, your gut can be responsible for high blood pressure. Your gut can be responsible for abnormal cholesterol, which leads to heart disease, #1 cause of heart attacks, abnormal cholesterol. And the gut also influences the glucose. Elevated glucose can lead to type 2 diabetes. And interestingly, it even affects sex hormones, especially around menopause time of our lives. So talking about high blood pressure, hypertension, and the role of probiotics, there's many causes, obviously, for high blood pressure, but one of those causes is high cholesterol. If your total cholesterol number is above normal, if you have a high LDL, that's low density lipoprotein, that's the bad cholesterol, so-called bad cholesterol. And then there's also VLDL, which is very low density lipoproteins. If those numbers are elevated, that in and of itself can be one of the causes of high blood pressure. And another thing that happens with that process is that one of the hunger hormones, it's called leptin, can overstimulate what we call the sympathetic nervous system, the one that just works in certain ways, but it can alter the lipids. The cholesterol can cause vasoconstriction, can cause you to retain salt. All of those lead to high blood pressure. So high cholesterol can cause high blood pressure. Type 2 diabetes can cause high blood pressure. When we have type 2 diabetes, the core problem there is insulin resistance. That means high levels of insulin running around in the bloodstream all the time. That is associated with the inability of the blood vessels to dilate. They remain more constricted. Again, a cause of high blood pressure. And then there's enzyme called renin that also can be affected by the gut health. If that's out of whack, that again can cause high blood pressure. So just keeping in mind those three things that can lead to high blood pressure, and then also the hormone imbalances, the sex hormone imbalances can be associated with high blood pressure. It's one of the reasons that it's much more common for women to become hypertensive later in life after they're not making as much estrogen. Men can also have a decline and imbalance of their hormones with aging. So all of those things affect our blood pressure. In other words, almost everything affects everything else. So I want to look a little bit further at that high blood pressure and the connection with the gut. So development and absorption of cholesterol mainly occurs in the gut, in the intestines. The intestinal bacteria, probiotics, or the bad guys, have a really big effect on the cholesterol metabolism. If we have the right amount of probiotics, the good bacteria, that assimilates the cholesterol, kind of glums it up and makes it less available to the bloodstream where it can do the damage. It's also incorporated into the cell membranes of the probiotics, so it's less absorbed. And they also produce enzymes that disrupt the bile acids that we need to make cholesterol. So it's excreted, and that causes the body to retain more cholesterol and not allow it to get into the bloodstream. So it's interesting, I think, that, we just think about cholesterol and what we eat, but those good bacteria in the gut have a great influence on how normal or abnormal our cholesterol levels are. So then let's talk a little bit about diabetes, type 2. Very common for people with type 2 diabetes to have hypertension, or people who have hypertension to get type 2 diabetes. And as I said before, the core problem with type 2 diabetes is insulin resistance, or this high level of insulin that's in the bloodstream. That very frequently causes high triglycerides, high LDL, high VLDL. And interestingly, they find in these studies that if we can get the cholesterol down, it decreases the onset or incidence of type 2 diabetes. One of the reasons that I got involved in looking more closely at probiotics, other than for just, like I said before, the bowel movement health, was when my ophthalmologist, one of his children, his daughter, is in medical school, and she asked him for some information about diabetes and probiotics, and I had been, reading and hearing some of this. So as I was researching for her to give her some resources, I also discussed this with the director of our science department, and have several articles that are just fascinating. A lot of this is what I'm sharing with you now, but much more connected than I even realized, although I've spent so much of my time in the field of diabetes. it's not been until recently that this has been put out in the research. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but it takes, after something is really proven in research, it takes about 15 years before mainstream medicine, that trickle-down effect. It's unfortunate that it takes that long, but it does. So anyway, we know that type 2 diabetes is associated with a lot of inflammation. The number one cause of type 2 diabetes is overweight. So fat cells, when we have big fat cells, there's a lot of inflammation. It's called a pro-inflammatory factor that the fat cells produce. And the gut bacteria, again, those probiotics, will have a great influence on how much inflammation that's going to contribute to both type 2 diabetes and obesity. So that if we have a good amount of the healthy bacteria, that's going to decrease the inflammation that can lead to the type 2 diabetes, and then therefore high blood pressure. Now, we talked a little bit about this at noon today, but the high carbohydrates, lots of sugar, fructose, just carbohydrates in general, are going to be, set the scene, so to speak, for developing type 2 diabetes, which is insulin resistance, and then also high triglycerides and high blood pressure. So the research is just showing lots of positive findings to not only for the using probiotics to prevent type 2 diabetes, but also as a treatment option. If glucose isn't well controlled, it may well be that the gut does not have enough of the healthy probiotics. And the other thing that is very important, and you've both heard me talk about this before, is we need fiber. So whole foods that have a lot of fiber, and supplementing that if we're not getting that 25 to 30 grams, because that's the food that the probiotics need to flourish. So again, often has to be supplemented. If we're not getting 9 servings of fruits and vegetables, I mean, that's a lot, but that is what we need to get that 25 to 30 grams. So moving on to the hormones and the blood pressure and the role of probiotics. Again, as I said earlier, if the sex hormones are out of whack, that can contribute to high blood pressure. And I'll just tell everybody listening to this live or on the recording that on my website, judygilman.com, there is a weight management page, and if you put your cursor on that, you'll also see in the drop down there's a self-assessment for hormones, a hormone self-assessment. It's a couple pages that has a lot of symptoms of which hormone may be too high or too low that you can print off, check off, take in, and visit with your healthcare provider about it. Anyway, that's a little aside. So one of the ways that can be one of the natural ways to help with the hormone imbalance is through the phytoestrogens that are in plants, in the especially the non-starchy vegetables, and the sources of soy. When we have a lot of especially legumes, and soy is the most commonly recognized one for having this effect as a phytoestrogen. If there's adequate good bacteria, adequate probiotics, that enhances the hormonal effect of the phytoestrogens. Now, I always say that for women who have had breast cancer, their oncologists will often tell them to avoid soy, and that's one of the reasons, because it does increase the estrogen levels. So if they have the kind of breast cancer that is affected by estrogen, that's the one instance where they would avoid soy. But for everybody else, it's a good way to help balance those hormones. Just it's greatly enhanced when there's adequate good probiotic bacteria. So from the systemic disease perspective of these chronic diseases, heart disease related to cholesterol and type 2 diabetes and overweight, I think it's just fascinating that we really need to pay attention to having adequate healthy bacteria in our gut. So talk now a minute about the immune system and probiotics' effect there. It really boosts our immune function. You may have heard of the term leaky gut. Our diets have gotten so poor that in many people, and sometimes this is from people who are sensitive to wheat, whether they actually have celiac disease or just have problems digesting wheat. You know, wheat has about 500% more gluten today than it did a few decades ago, just because they changed the type of wheat. You know, we used to have these long flowing stalks. Now we have short stubby stalks that produce a lot more grain, but they have like about 500% more gluten. So anyway, for a variety of reasons, we can develop this leaky gut. So the organisms, the gut bacteria, can actually go through the intestinal wall and get into the bloodstream, and that raises a lot of havoc with our immune system and health in general. So probiotics, the good guys, you know, they line the gut and lighten the load of the immune system so that it can go anywhere else in the body that you need to be protected from whatever organisms are out there trying to make you sick. And the probiotics also produce these agents, these bacteriocins that have an antibiotic action that kills off the harmful organisms as well. So again, a healthy gut has a direct relationship to our immune system. Talk a little bit more about supplemental fiber again, because this is so important. You cannot have a healthy gut without having adequate fiber. Again, trying to get that up to the 30 grams a day to improve all of those things that you see on your screen: the glucose, cholesterol, triglycerides, weight, gastrointestinal health. And I will, some of you have seen some of these things on my website, but I will email out these particular web links. On this one on my website, I just would like you to look at the Science of Balance video if you haven't looked at that yet, because it's a very good visual explaining how the fiber is so beneficial. Now I want to move on, just talk a brief bit about cleansing. Why do we want to cleanse? Why do we want to do a colon cleanse? Well, we are exposed to parasites in so many different ways. You know, if we have pets, there's no getting around it. If we eat fruits and vegetables, even if we wash them, there's still going to be some parasites. We're not going to be walking barefoot these days, but it was only last week, I think, that we were out walking barefoot in the grass. You know, when you're in the bathrooms and you touch the faucet handles, you should always use a paper towel after you wash your hands. So many people don't wash their hands after using the facilities. Or if they do, it might be a quick one and they touch the handles to turn them off. So always use a paper towel to touch faucet handles and bathroom door handles, that sort of thing. But there's just no way in our modern world that we're not exposed to parasites. And they can mimic so many different diseases. I thought I had another slide on there and I didn't have time to add that, but I have one of my customers has a lot of problems with asthma, allergies, and gut discomforts and loose bowels, and I've been working with her, and by using the probiotics and our live fiber, she's just getting things calmed down a lot. And what you need to realize that parasites have a 3-month life cycle. So I do a cleanse twice a year. You can do it more frequently, but just on general principles. I mean, I travel around the country quite a bit, and you just, you don't know what you come in contact with at times. Again, I'll send these websites out, but the first one is just talking about the cleanse that Unicity has available. It comes with, well, I'll take you to the website here in just a minute. But what I wanted to say, if you choose to do a cleanse, you want to pay attention to what comes out, because if you, parasites can be microscopic, so you're not going to see those. If you should see anything that resembles a wiggly object, you know that you need to have to take there's capsules in the cleanse called Paraway Plus. The Paraway Plus capsules immobilize the parasites, so then they're washed out of the system. And for my customer I was just talking about, she's going to do that regardless. She's going to take the probiotics and the Paraway Plus for 3 months, because so often those parasites can be what are causing asthma and allergy and all kinds of other symptoms. So that's something to consider. This slide is explaining why I tend to say the word probiotic instead of probiotic, because Unicity's probiotic name is probiotic, if that makes any sense. Anyway, it is a probiotic in powder form, so it's much more absorbable than those in capsules and that sort of thing. And it includes the 4 strains of good bacteria that are so, that are recommended for all of the problems that we've been talking about. If you choose another brand, the lactobacillus and the bifidobacterium are 2 of strains, and in our probiotic there are 2 different of each of those. So we're really covering all the bases there and really making sure that all the good bacteria gets back into a good balance. It's interesting, especially with my passion for preventing diabetes and controlling blood sugars in people who have it. I never thought I would really be recommending probiotics for that, but that is something that is important. The probiotic that we have it's very tasty. It's in a little sleeve, and it's I don't remember what those when my kids were young, they had little candies that came in a little sleeve. It's kind of like little crackles, but that's similar to what this looks like and tastes like. You can just dissolve them under your tongue or put them in a little water to dissolve. And I just, of course, take mine in my balance, and I use those periodically just to get things back in balance, my probiotics and my balance. So that's really all that I wanted to cover tonight. I am going to just go to my website here real quick, and for those of you listening that have your own Unicity account, you can look at it there as well. But I'm going to try to close this PowerPoint. There we go. Thank you. Couldn't do that when I first got on the first time. So I'm just going to put that down and go to my website and just show you a couple things there. So just judygilman.com. And the other products can be reviewed by just clicking on that link. And then there on the left there is products by benefit, and it goes into several categories. So we're going to click on Digestive Health. And this is what our cleanse looks like. So both versions of the cleanse both contain the the Paraway Plus capsules. Those are the capsules that immobilize the parasites so that they can't live. They just have to flush on out. And they can attach to the bowel lining and that sort of thing. I mean, you would not believe some of the horror stories of things with parasites. And anyway, I won't go there right now. But both versions contain the Paraway Plus. Both of them contain what we call live fiber, which is a psyllium-based fiber, and it has, I think, about 15 other or 15 herbs that are all for bowel health, and that acts as kind of a gentle brush effect along the lining of the colon to move the parasites on out. And then this one, it says cleanse aloe vera. The aloe vera are in capsule form. That's the laxative part of the cleanse. So if you prefer a capsule, you would get cleanse aloe vera. And if you're a tea drinker, you would choose the one with nature's tea. So they're both the same, except one has the aloe vera capsules and the other has the nature's tea. And the prices that you see on this site are retail prices. So if you have a preferred customer wholesale account, it would be much less. So that's the cleanse. That's enough for a month's supply of all 3 of those products. And you can order these, like the aloe vera capsules or the nature's tea or the live fiber. All of those can be ordered separately as well. And let me just go to the next page here. And the live fiber also can be used separately. Some people who have diverticulitis and that sort of thing really benefit from the live fiber. People who have a tendency for really loose stools, live fiber gives some form to the stools. And like I said, you can get the nature's tea and the Paraway Plus separately. But what I'm really on this page for is to show you what our probiotics look like. Like I said, the name is probionic, but it's a very, very tasty, very broad spectrum, 4 different of the recommended kinds, and each of those little I don't know, particles, little grains is what they're like, but they're really microencapsulated so that they don't break down until they get to the intestine, and that's where you want them to work. So just wanted to show you what those were like. And when you go to the site, you can just click on the icon of whatever it is you're looking at, and you can look at ingredients and different information. Some of them have science with it, so you can get more information that way. So anybody on the live call have questions?
Judy, how do you feel about the probiotics that they tell us that are in sort of the yogurt and Greek yogurt?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much of that would you need to eat to sort of get enough of those probiotics daily?
Right. Well, if you're taking, if you're having, getting a good amount of fiber and plant vegetables and that sort of thing, remember you're getting, that's going to proliferate the good bacteria without supplementing. Obviously, you can't have tons of yogurt and all of that, but if you're, it all has to be balanced out. My problem with, with yogurt is I don't want to have all of the carbs that come with yogurt. So it's okay to have it that way. And if you're having, like a course of antibiotics or having symptoms or having something that you really want to treat, then it's better to take the straight probiotics so that you're getting adequate amounts. Those that are added to foods, it's a way to help out the gut on a routine basis. You just need to kind of balance the kind of food that you're having so that you don't get too much of something you don't want in another way. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I will send you those links so you can look at that and find it a little bit more easily. The next presentation I'm going to do is on the 19th, and that evening I'm going to be talking about the 12-week transformation coaching program and my experiences with that, as well as some other people's experiences. And just if you are interested in marking down the dates, I did December 4th, and that will be in the evening, and December 17th. I'm going to talk on inflammation on December 4th, and on December 17th I'm going to talk more about issues pertaining more to women, polycystic ovary syndrome, cystic breasts, cramping, hormone imbalances, and that sort of thing. So you can jot those down if that's of interest to you. December 17th will be Wednesday at noon. I think after I get through with that one in December, when I'm planning those for the first part of next year, I'll make a decision and try probably to go with either evenings routinely or lunchtimes routinely, and see how that goes. So any other questions or comments?
No, that was great. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and I'm glad that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening, and I appreciate it. See you both soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.